Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
The first two races in North America were tracks where drivers may have been able to pull knowledge from real-life experience. However, it might be a bit more rare to find drivers who've set foot at this circuit. Suzuka is legendary, but with it being all the way on the other side of the globe, will it be too foreign for some to master? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Challenge class live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Michael Johnson. Cameron Abenon is on social media, and Ryan Bauer is producing while using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But before we get to the racing, Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been family owned and operated for over 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they've won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row and has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufacturer dealerships in the entire country. Find out more at 4Porsche.com or follow at Porsche Exchange on Instagram. Also, Six Sigma Sim Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their best 6 races this season. For more information, head to sixsigmasimracing.com. That's the number 6, sigmasimracing.com. Now, we've shown up for the 4th time and final time these last 2 weeks here at Suzuka, and as we've seen each time, Michael, this is a tough one.
Tough is putting it lightly. Suzuka is one of those tracks where you think you're going to get a little bit of a break, but just because it's a straightaway doesn't mean you're getting a break. The setting up for turn 1 and trying to get around turn 2 without being passed is tough. There is always somebody sitting right up under your wing right there, or you're under someone else's wing. Same thing when you're looking at coming out of Spoon, turn 13, headed down towards turn 14, which is 130R. You have no chance to rest. There is so much going on this track all the time, and especially this corner right here, this one that we're looking at where Mark Doran is going through, this is called Hairpin, and at Hairpin there are 2 very good, both correct attacks on the entry of that corner, and you're going to see a lot of people try to stick that nose up in there while someone's doing the other version of the entry. Which one's better? It's hard to say. It really comes down to driver preference. But this track, probably more than any other, brings so much action because it forces everyone to be so close together, just the way the corners flow. So it's a lot of fun. I love it. One of the best places to race.
We're in the final stages of qualifying here, and they only get 3 laps. It's not very long. It is a pretty long lap as well, at 2 minutes in length. And I'm seeing most of them just wrapping up that 3rd lap now. This is Lervold in 4th. Doran is your provisional pole sitter. Lervold not able to improve. And Doran's going to cross the line, see if he can extend this half-second gap. 2:04.3 will indeed bump it up by about a 1/10 over Jonathan Reber, who was looking very quick in the practice session. He'll jump a little bit higher, but he does not take the pole away.
Yeah, honestly, where Jonathan is kind of where I want to be on this track. I don't necessarily like that inside line on the start, except for the fact that you have control of the start. However, with everybody trying to jockey for position, you got to watch your mirrors hard in P1, and P2 has a little bit easier job maybe being able to slide around the outside. But that takes a lot of talent and a lot of confidence. So we'll see how Jonathan Reber does on that. I can't guarantee that that's what he's going to do, but that's what I would try to do if I were in P2.
This is Thomas Crane, and he might just be our last driver able to cross the line. There is a small chance that Jeremy Main behind him will be able to get there before the time runs out, because they can't complete the hot laps in this format. As Tom comes across, it's a 2:08.5, and that jumps him up one position, as Jeremy Main is, no, I can't tell. He didn't make it. A lap was deleted regardless, so that's going to be it. And that means our grid is set here today with Doran on the pole and Reber starting in second. Scott Durham will start from third with Randy Lervold in fourth. Arnie Clayson will be P5. Kevin Schultz starts in sixth. Then it's Stacy Iwata in the seventh position. Outside of that row, you see David Palmer with Robert Goulet in ninth and Casey McDonald rounding out your top 10.
In P11, we have Andy McCoon, followed by Aubrey Iyer. Alex Lidback brings in 13th with Robert Benson. In 14th, Andrew Smiley, David Purdy, Johan Nye. Don't know where Jonathan came from on that one. Jeremy Main, who we were just watching, just missed that ability to do another lap. Lisa Eskridge and Tom Crane is going to bring out top 20.
From there, Jack Stevenson, Stephen Bukowski, and Art Schwartz are your last three to set times. Tim Schrock, who is signed in late, was not able to set a lap, so he'll have to start from the back. We've seen that already earlier this week, just last night, where one of the drivers managed to climb pretty far through the fields just because they were out of position. But will we see a repeat of that? We'll have to wait and see. It's a bit of a short pace lap here, Michael. Then they're going to be on their way, and they got to keep their head on a swivel into that first two turns.
Absolutely. It's going to be tough getting in there. That 1-2 combination, the turn one is pretty kind of open, but it allows you to have that opportunity to brake if you can do it on cold tires going into that corner. And then it gets really tight on turn two. Now, how are they going to do? I think it's going to be fine. I think there's a lot of opportunity for mistakes, but PCA, honestly, no contact sport with these guys. There is no rubbing as racing in this, so I think they're going to be really good about watching it.
Now, Reber's hanging back. This is interesting, but it doesn't look like he's trying to get himself a jump. Just trying to watch and visually see when Doran goes as the green flag waves, and it seems to have failed him because here comes Durham up the Durham up the inside rather in the red and white number 8, and he is going to get that second place away. They make it through turn one, now through turn two as the banking increases, and it looks like we're going to be good.
Yeah, a little bit surprising. I think Reber should have tried to hold it a little closer there, but I'm sure he has his reasoning, and maybe it'll work out for him by the end of the race. Who knows what's going on, but looks like Arnie Clausen's holding back there in P4. Arnie, if I recall correctly, was the winner at VIR with that look pedals or possibly look bindings. They also do bindings. But looks like right now P1, 2, 3 are trying to streak away from the rest of the pack. Really good pull. Look at that gap these guys have built in only the first third of a lap.
Only major problem we've had so far is Kevin Schultz with a spin out of the S's, and that sent him into the wall. He goes to the back of the field, but he's got it back on track. Doran versus Durham, that's going to be difficult for us tonight. Is separated by a mere half a second here, and they're heading up towards Spoon Curve. Reber not only missing out on that start, he's kind of fallen off the back of him here early.
Yeah, a little bit. He's got about 0.8 of a second to get up to Durham, but Doran is streaking away, keeping about a 3/4 second difference to Scott Durham. Wow, I'm just calling one of them Jonathan because that's whatever name comes out of my mouth right now, apparently. But we're taking a look at him running down that backstretch, but heading towards 130R. This is where you almost get a break, but look at them just kind of positioning themselves. They're trying to stick in the draft, trying to make a nose out. See, just right there in that P5, 7 position, he was sticking his nose out, trying to set up a little bit of uncertainty. But as our leaders head down into the Casio Triangle now, coming through that final corner to finish our first lap.
And Doran's going to lead that first lap with Durham behind him and Jonathan Reber running in third. Yeah, we have our own kind of Martin Brundle and Mark Blundell situation going on here, as I think we've had maybe a pass for Bukowski there in 12th. I thought I saw him either lose a spot or maybe gain one, but it looks like he's holding 20th for now. As you can see, they're still very clumped together here throughout this relatively small field of 24.
Yeah, still a small field, but a lot of really good racing to be had. 24 people, 24 drivers in a race. That kind of makes it a lot of fun because everybody tends to be a little bit closer, and you have fewer cars to keep track of as a driver. So when you come out, let's say you're the leader and you're coming out after your pit rotation and you're stuck in the middle of a group, you know who's around there a little bit better. Fewer other drivers to keep track of in your mental notes.
We've been jumping around a little bit here. We saw a brief look at Scott Durham in P2, but we're back to Casey McDonald now, who is chasing the 809 machine with its black polka dots all over the bright yellow Porsche. But he's not going to be close enough down into the hairpin, although there's a big lockup, and Robert might give this one away. Indeed, Casey has an easy pass. That moves him into that P8.
Yeah, it looks like Bukowski didn't quite have braking quite right, went off into the kitty litter there and is trying to recover, catch back up with the group here. Not really the end of the race. There's plenty of opportunity to catch back up, especially as you have time to make it up. There's time in this race, so it's not over yet.
Back to Doran, and this is looking very close. Durham might have a good shot here at trying to do something. If he's really brave, he's going to come from a long ways back, and we've seen this work in previous nights. They're going to go side by side, and they're going to bang doors through the Casio Triangle, but unfortunately there's no grip on the AstroTurf, and Durham not only loses that fight, but now he's under threat because Reber's coming around the outside.
And Reber has made it, was able to just get the power down better, was not in a dirty track section, was able to get it down there, but it's coming back here, coming into turn 1 and 2. Looks like Reber's able to hold on to it this time. I think what may have happened was Reber was just uncomfortable with the cooler tires, and now that those tires have warmed up, I think we're going to see a little bit more confident driving from him.
Speaking of confident driving, the number 8 certainly was confident into that braking zone. We'll see if he can repeat that. Try and fight back against Reber, or if this is going to be Jonathan versus Doran just in front of him, as we don't have too much in this race. Remember, we have 2 races this evening. First, this 15-minute sprint, and then it's going to be going to a 40-minute feature after that. So the drivers will have to get this one over with quickly and make good on it, as I think we've had an issue with Tom Crane in the 864, but I believe he's going to be able to get the car back on the track and rolling, as looks like it was a solo incident. Meanwhile, down to the hairpin once again, the battle between first, second, and third has not abated, and it looks to me like Arnie Clayson is getting a little closer.
Yeah, there's a bit of a battle going on there now. I think Scott Durham was not too happy to be passed, so he's really putting some pressure on Jonathan Reber to try to get back up there, and that is slowing them both down, allowing Arne Clausen the opportunity to catch back up. Last lap through, Scott Durham was 2:07. Now, a lot of that was that mistake that we saw in the Casio Triangle, trying to pull a pass that we saw happen beautifully a couple of times last night. But tonight didn't work out quite as well for him, so he had a bit of a slow lap. Clausen almost a second and a half faster on that lap, so able to close it up quite nicely.
As Robert Galay, who we saw go deep down to the hairpin last lap, and this time it's going to be Spoon Curve that causes him woe. And I think this is once again just down to driver error. I don't think anybody's managed to make contact with him. As he exits the corner, yeah, there's that pendulum motion.
Yeah, get that power down a little bit too early there, and that'll really mess you up. But in the meantime, looks like Mark Doran has pulled the fastest lap of the race so far at a 2:05.1.
That's Robert Benson, and I think he just goosed a little too hard at one point in the Casio Triangle, so he'll get back on the track and going. And we're going to take a look at this replay. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this one a little bit different from what we saw before, I think.
Yeah, he got down in there, missed that first apex, is a little bit too far around, still has too much steering input in. The weird thing is, and most of, and it carries on. A lot of other pro drivers and I often joke and quip about, wow, it's funny how many people think the steering wheel is for steering the car. So, I mean, we tend to use our feet a lot more to make the car do the things we want to. Steering wheel is for starting the corner, but if you want to finish the corner, it's all about the feet. You got to get that wheel back to straight as fast as you can.
Durham trying to get it straight off of the hairpin as he trails behind Reber, who's now more than a second back from Doran. So will he try and get this P2 back? He was off the line. And as they exit out of Spoon Curve, speaking of being off the line, Jonathan Reber could not hit that apex.
Yeah, there's one there somewhere, but it was not found by him. However, his pursuer, Scott Durham, found it beautifully. Now look how close he is. He was at about 0.5 of a second, down to about 3 right now. Just could not quite close it up. That straight, you think it's long enough. I'm telling you, it's not. You have to set it up to come down here into the Casio Triangle. Now let's see how both have them. Yep, they're hitting that apex. Although, looks like Durham decided to hit that second apex a little bit better. While we see that Reber was going a little bit wide. Reber's going to have to go defensive here now because it's getting pretty tight, under 0.3, down to about 1/4 second as they look coming down into turn 1. Not going to be able to get his nose down there, but he is just showing those headlights into those mirrors, letting him know he's there and letting him know that this race, while it may be the shorter one, is not over yet.
Certainly, they're only going to be seen somewhere in the realm of 6 or 7 laps here that they're going to be running. So they're already on lap 5, and it's ticking down very, very quickly. Unfortunately for Tom Crane, looks like he's gotten a black flag, so maybe he did have some contact a little bit earlier that we missed. Casey McDonald, in the meantime, in the battle for 7th.
Yeah, Casey McDonald here sitting in 7th place with 6th and 5th right in front. Really kind of sitting in a catbird seat and trying to not get too close. Watching what's going on right in front of him with Stacy Iwata and Lervold. He wants to be careful and not get too close. Oh, sorry, that was David Palmer. Had the wrong one there. But Stacy Iwata right in front. So Casey McDonald up onto Palmer, not wanting to get too close until it's time. You really have to time things out on this track. You want to sit back and let the person in front of you make a mistake. Every pass we've seen tonight has been really capitalizing on someone making a mistake and then the person behind really jumping in, seeing that mistake evolving, and then jumping in to take advantage of it when it does.
Yeah, we saw that in the battle for P2 last night as well. So will history repeat itself, or are we going to see the driver of Iwata be able to withstand the pressure? That's a little bit wide and a poor exit as Palmer's got a good shot here, trying to pull that slipstream up the backstretch, but you generally don't want to try and be too wide through 130R. Is he going to try it? He's thinking about it. Iwata gives a big defense down to the inside, and that actually slows down Palmer, and now comes on McDonald. Going to look around the outside, coming into the Casio Triangle, trying to outbrake that number 43, and he almost has it as the 43 gets a little bit squirrely, and there it is. The black number 9 is going to move into 7th.
I'd love to say that was a beautiful pass, but it really wasn't. There was a lot of tire smoke there, a lot of indecision going on. But you know what? A pass is a pass, and if I'm him, I'll take it.
Ends justify the means here. So that means Casey McDonald gets P7 as we jump up to our leader, Doran. It's now up to 1.4 seconds ahead of Reber, continuing to just extend it by small margins, but margins nonetheless that are in favor of that 486 machine. Doesn't have to last too much longer. What about back with Benson, who we saw have an off not long ago? And that looks like that's Jeremy Main just in front of him. He's got Johan Nye behind, and then Lisa Eskridge is also involved in this 4-way battle for 14th.
Yeah, and I think Maine also had some issues going on earlier. So Maine holding on to that P14 with Benson really looking to slide into it, but it's going to be tough. We have only about 3.5 minutes left, just under. It's going to be tough to get there. Oh, and we have Scott Durham. Scott Durham has fallen back. A little bit of a mistake there. That's not good. Hopefully we can get a replay and see what happened here as we watch. So coming down, I'm going to guess this is a braking issue going into... Nope, braking looks good now coming out. Does he get the power down too quick? Yeah, just a tiny bit too quick on the power. I think he was licking his chops already because he was seeing how Reber had come off the corner, not realizing they have a different approach to that corner. And I think he just got a little bit overzealous, got into the throttle just a tad too soon.
Well, this is great for the 7 car because he's now in 3rd place, but he's a long ways back from Reber. So our battle for the podium has split apart, but it's definitely changed hands in the process. Ooh, who do we got? David Purdy, who is dropping positions like flies as he tries to get it spun around and started. He'll fall to what looks like 17th place if he doesn't spin in front of Lisa Eskridge. Thankfully was not hit there as we went to replay.
Ooh, yeah, just got a little bit wide out there. That is not a good place to be. You don't want to get out like that. And then into the kitty litter and to the grass, onto the AstroTurf. There's not a lot you can do at that point. You really are just a passenger.
So this is Eskridge's view. And this is not generally what you want to see coming off this corner. Thankfully not as blind as some of the tracks, but yeah, she gave him a nice wide berth there as they approached.
Yeah, that was smart on her part. Being aware, generally you're going to want to go where the car was, not where they're going. And this is one of the biggest things we try to teach people in various performance and teen driving schools. Go where they were and not where they are. Had she followed that, I think she'd have been in trouble because it was all of a sudden a lunge back across the track. So staying on line and doing the normal line through there, I think worked out in her advantage.
Exactly. And I think we got a lap and a half left to go because Doran is coming up the spoon and he's got about a minute left here. We're checking in with Andrew Smiley now. This is the battle for 7th place. McDonald has jumped up there after a little bit of a mistake from his rivals earlier, but Palmer and Smiley are still clinging to that rear wing.
Yeah, trying to hold on, just get a little bit farther up. Stacey Iwata up into 6th with McDonald still in 7th, Palmer in 8th. Andrew Smiley, though, really wants to get in there. We've got a pretty tight grouping here with McDonald, Palmer, and Smiley. It's only 3/10 up between Palmer and McDonald. Looking at that Haribo car, trying to find its way through there and make some children happy.
White flag is out for Doran as he crosses the finish line. So one more to go. He's down to a 2nd, so Reber's responded a little bit, but there was a bit of lap traffic. It was Kevin Schultz that Mark was having to overtake, and I wonder if that helped him slightly. So this is going to be the last time into turn 1 for these guys. Is Andrew going to try and make a lunge, or is he going to try and wait patiently? He's close, and in fact, in front of him, it looks like Palmer's even closer to McDonald's, but not close enough. A big lockup, unfortunately, for Andrew Smiley. He keeps it from getting turned around despite 2 wheels into the dirt. Nice save, but he loses valuable ground to the 2 ahead of him. Excellent
Control there. I was certain that was going to end up in tears, but absolutely pristine, perfect control after a little unsettling maneuver from the cars in front. If he'd have been paying attention 2 cars in front instead of the one in front of him, I think he might have been in a little better position, although he may have seen that and had hoped there was an opportunity to slide underneath. Just didn't really expect, although we have Palmer off. Palmer is off.
Oh, no. This late in the race, that's not going to be possible to make up unless someone ahead of him makes a mistake. Instead, we're taking a glance now at the battle for the lead. Doran and Reber separated by less than a second. I don't know if this is Mark just managing the gap to try and bring it home, or if this is Jonathan turning up the wick, or maybe it's a bit of both. We'll see once they finish this out. As they come up the back stretch, Mark getting a great exit. Jonathan not looking like he has an answer.
Yeah, it's not like he needs to save his tires for the next race. So he gets a brand new set every time, so may as well use them, right?
Exactly. Those tires are fully operational, but we go back to Scott Durham now. And the fight with Lervold trying to make up for lost time, but he goes wide and is not going to get the chance. Up in front of him, Doran is going to take the win from lights to flag as Reber eventually gets back into 2nd place and had a brief moment of hope for the victory, but it was not to be. Arnie Clayson will wind up rounding out the podium.
Yeah, nice job there. Looking at lap times, Reaper was pretty close, right about a 204.3 with a 204.1 for Doran. I think next race we might see a little something different. I think this may have just been testing the water, dipping the toe in just a bit.
Watching to see the last few come to cross the line now. And as they work their way through the Casio Triangle, Benson well clear of Nye and McCune. So I don't think that's going to be changing hands here amongst these drivers. They will go through uneventful. And now we're checking in with Tim Schrock, who started from the very back of the field. Unfortunately, has not been able to make up many of those positions. He's only in 21st currently.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult group to make up a lot of time. I think everybody's kind of in I want to say 3 or 4 distinct groups here. You've got the people who are running those quicker 204, 205 times. Then you come back into the 207, 208, and then you're going to get maybe 10 to 14 or maybe 10 to 12 and then 14. So it'll be, they're really those distinct groups. And unfortunately, he's kind of stuck in that last group here.
Biggest mover on that one was Andrew Smiley, up 7. And the one that's probably got the worst of it, Robert Goulet in the 809, down 8. So when they regrid for this next one, that means they're going to be slightly out of position, unless this really is Andrew Smiley's pace and he is able to push this hard to be able to hold that up. We'll get just a short little warm-up session before we go off to the race here, so you don't have to wait too long before we get to the main show. So let's run through our results. Mark Doran with the win, and Jonathan Reber finishing second behind him. Artie Clayson, bit of a quieter third place, 8 seconds behind the leader, but still a third nonetheless. Lervold took fourth, and Durham is ruining that issue that he had there. A possible second place winds up a fifth. Stacey Iwata was P6 and Casey McDonald 7th. Then it's Andrew Smiley P8 and David Palmer 9th, and Alex Litvak rounds out your top 10.
And looking at P11, we have Aubrey Iyer, followed by Jeremy Main. Good recovery there from Jeremy. Robert Benson, Jonathan, sorry, I did it again, didn't I? Johan Nye, Andy McCune, Lisa Eskridge had that close call, still able to hold out in a 16th place by the finish. Robert Gale, and then David Purdy, Stephen Bukowski, and Art Schwartz brings out the top 20.
Tim Schrock, as I mentioned, only 21st, Stevenson 22nd, and Crane 23rd, with Schultz the only one that went a lap down of our 24-car field. We'll be right back after a brief message from our sponsors. Don't go away. We've got the feature race of the challenge class coming soon. A little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to Suzuka. We're getting ready to watch the feature race in the challenge class here in Series 10 for the PCA. And they'll be regrid according to how they finished in the sprint. We'll go through that in case you missed that a bit ago. But drivers who had a bad time in that first one are going to have an even rougher one, having to make a lot of passes. And those that made their way up the order will hopefully have a little bit of an easier time. But one of the other things that we haven't mentioned that's going to be different here is there is a pit stop, Michael.
Yeah, there's a pit stop in this one. This is a 40-minute race. It's going to be forced a pit stop because they're limited on fuel. So how are they going to manage that? Are they going to be able to do what we call crash the cone, where you come in pretty hot and hit the brakes at the last possible second? Or are they going to come in and get caught up in traffic with someone who doesn't crash the cone? We saw that happen last night from our leader, who was coming in pretty hot, and then there was someone who wasn't quite as comfortable moving in there. So making that pit stop as quickly as you can without breaking any rules, without speeding in the pits, that's going to be a big piece of the strategy here. Is, do I take tires 40 minutes? Probably not. I wouldn't. I don't think any of these folks are.
No, I think it wouldn't be worth it. You wouldn't have the time really to try and capitalize on that in this group. This is shorter than what most of the other series, most of the other classes, I should say, run. So it'll be a slightly different dynamic, other than, of course, them limiting the fuel to make sure that they have to come in and take that pit stop to get to the end. You cannot save enough to try and go without a stop, even at this track. So as they finish up that warm-up, we'll let the seconds tick down, and then we'll go through our starting order for this one. Another rolling start. Did Jonathan Reber learn his lesson from that one, not getting off the line all that quickly? As they are gridded up now, and Doran starts on the pole. Reber will be next to him as they were last time. Clayson starting in third, 2 positions up from the last race. Burvold will be fourth, and Durham in fifth. And it's Stacy Iwata starting in P6 and McDonald in seventh. Andrew Smiley starts in P8, followed by David Palmer ninth, and Lidback does 3 better than the first race, starting in 10th.
In P11, we're going to have, looks like Aubrey Iyer, followed by Jeremy Main, Robert Benson, Johan Nye, got it right that time, Andy McCune, Lisa Eskridge in 16th, Robert Gale, and then David Purdy, Stephen Bukowski, and Art Schwartz bring up top 20.
Tim Schrock up a little bit from where he was before, at least, starting 21st. Jack Stevenson will be 22nd, and then Tom Crane 23rd. Kevin Schultz gridded up in 6th in the first race. He's going to be starting 24th this time. That's going to be very rough for him, but some of that was due to a black flag that he got in the previous sprint race. Let's hope that he can avoid that this time around as we head down towards the Casio Triangle. One thing we saw in last race that appeared a bit this time as well is using those fresher tires on the first few laps, trying to make overtakes into that triangle there, Michael.
Yeah, the tires can come up to temperature, and we saw this happen in the race last night, where people who were brave and really trying to feel it out on that first lap, second lap, coming out of 130R, just getting a blazing run, able to get onto the brakes and make that happen.
Well, it looks like Reber is still going to try and hang back a little bit here. Will Clayson also get that position? Green flag is out. He's got a very good run. In fact, Arnie might be able to try and challenge for the lead if he really wants to be brave. We're 4 wide behind them, though, and that doesn't go well as the car gets tipped around and sent off down the order. That's Stacy Iwata, who just skitters off into the gravel and into the tire barrier.
Yeah, meanwhile, it looks like Jonathan Reber hasn't necessarily learned his lesson. Exact same thing that happened last lap, our last race, went from P2 to P3, happened this time, except it was a different car, that Look Pedals car from Arnie Clausen.
So looks like McCune also getting collected as he ran to the side of Andrew Smiley. Not sure if those two were involved in Smiley spinning initially, but we'll try and get some information on that one a little bit later. It's been a great day for Arnie Clayson. Critted up 5th in that first race, and now he's in 2nd, had maybe a shot at looking for the lead. We'll see if he can keep up with Doran. Maybe a longer race will help him out with him having better long paces behind him. Oh, no, he's gone wide. And Reber, is he going to get the spot the exact same way he did in the first race? He is.
And that is that choice of how you enter that worked to his advantage that time. He took that shallower entry. He kind of dove down to the inside, made a beeline from the kink down to the entrance of that hairpin. And that allowed him to be able to sneak up underneath and have a better position than Durham, who was closing in behind him. Durham generally takes that wider line trying to enter there. Kind of got him caught up also behind Arnie Clausen.
Here we go. He's slipstreaming behind him up the backstretch, but he gives a big lift, so he's not willing to risk it on the first lap into 130R going too wide. He sets up the exit very well. Ooh, almost made a little bit of contact. Yeah, they're both too deep. They take out Reber. And who is going to be able to pick up the pieces? I think it's going to be Lervold.
Lervold's going to be able to get through there. Durham jumped quickly on the radio, took responsibility there.
And Lervold was slow off the corner for some reason. He's not going to be able to take it. It is actually Clayson, I think, who is up in P2. And behind him, Palmer jumps all the way up. He started 9th here.
Wow, great movement there. Yeah, it's funny, this track, I say it's a difficult place to pass. It's not when all the other cars go off the track. So if that keeps going on, we can see David Palmer sitting up there in P1. Not that Doran and Clausen are going to be finding their way off the track. Both of them have shown to be pretty stable drivers. But let's take a look at this replay.
So I figured out what happened to Lervold. I think he had a tiny little cut course that he had to get back. But before that, this is what maybe distracted him. And poor Jonathan was just the innocent victim in this one. Had probably no idea that that was going to happen. Cars coming on either side. I don't even know how he would have avoided that if he saw it coming.
Yeah, and somehow Clausen, look at him going around the outside. He had to have gotten some kind of slowdown penalty here, but it looks like he's sort of serving it halfway through there. You could see this developing right here as they came off of this corner. Clausen pulls back over to the left side, and Durham was trying to cut up underneath. Looks like Clausen got kind of caught up in that as well, probably watching his mirror, seeing Durham coming around, but Clausen's able to get back on track and stay in P2 somehow.
From the onboard view, I didn't realize that you could see where he got contacted. I think that shoved him far enough forward that he probably would have made the corner, but it just, the extra momentum kind of did him in, and he had no choice in that situation. Back to Reber, who's in 7th, probably wondering how in the world did I get here on lap 2. Is behind Lervold. McDonald just in front of them. This is a battle for 5th as they approach the Casio Triangle, but nobody's close enough that we'll see it pass, except actually Reber was under attack. That was Jeremy Main that you saw in the silver car behind him.
Yeah, now Reber probably has a little damage here that he's contending with. There could be a little bit of suspension damage, maybe some aero damage. So whatever's going on with that car, he's having to struggle to keep it into this top 10. And if he really understands what's happened, you can drive around a little bit of damage on this car. I think he could bring it back into a P5, P4, but any more than that's going to be a bit of a struggle.
Sadly, that has put a retirement on the board. Scott Durham was not able to get the car going after that incident. As we go side by side through the S's, not as common. And it looks like that is going to be Iyer who comes out the victor on that one. Main, apparently... Oh, was it Reber fighting with Iyer? How did he wind up fighting with Iyer there?
I think he was working his way back up through. Iyer had slowed down, unless I'm misidentifying the cars.
No, you're right.
Two great cars.
I didn't realize. I thought Iyer was behind them earlier, but he was way in front. And the number 4 basically was trying to give some time back. So good catch on that, Michael.
Yeah, I get one every once in a while. Even a blind squirrel gets a nut, right?
Exactly. Well, I don't think Doran is blind or squirrely at all, because look at that gap. 6.4 seconds now that he has pulled ahead of them all. He is not being challenged, and we're still a mere 5 minutes into this race. he's basically just got to run a nice, calm, collected race from here to manage it. Because as you can see, Arnie's just not anywhere close to him. We jump back to Kevin Schultz now. And wow, I said he's going to need to try and pick up some more spots, and he has responded by jumping it up to 13th, a gain of 11.
Yeah, 11 spots. Huge jump there for Kevin Schultz, trying to close this up. Even got it down. I think we might even see a pass coming up here. It's close, but no, probably wants to hold back and do this after 130R, but missed the apex, gets out into the grass a little bit. Going to really mess up his opportunity there.
Yep, just a little bit wide in front of them. That's Lisa Eskridge going in too deep. And looks like no change of position. But Gallet also had to back it up a little bit, still under attack from that 16.
Yeah, Gallet is looking to get up in there, get under the wing of Lisa Eskridge, but just didn't get a good launch off the corner. However, it looks like Schultz is trying to take a look down the inside as Gallet goes wide, tries to get too far into that corner. Now they are too wide into, although having two, well, now four wheels onto the grass does not do you much good when you're running racing tires.
Indeed. So Robert falls to 13th. Kevin now up 12 into P12 appropriately. As we come back to Jonathan in the 147 machine, still stuck behind Lervold, which is where he was last race as well. He had managed to go by, I think, early on, and now suddenly is seeing that red rear bumper filling up his windscreen. He thinks about it on the little kink down into the hairpin and then second guesses himself.
Yeah, and you can see Lervold was trying to split the difference between those two lines going in there, and it's not serving him well. Now he's got a little difficulty coming off of the corner, going in through 200R now. But look at this. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is going to be a pass here pretty quickly. My expectation is going down into Casio Triangle, although running it pretty wide there. Is he going to be able to hold onto this? Is Jonathan going to be able to make it through? Looks like Reber is going to be able to get the nose ahead, get the power down, and pull out in front, taking another position back to P4.
Jonathan's favorite move now, it seems, getting people off the line just by scaring them, and eventually he'll get the position. He's got 7 seconds to make up to David Palmer in front of him, so it's a long ways. His lid back is going to go side by side, and somehow Maine still has the car. No, he's going to lose it in the end, and into the side of Robert Benson. A massive incident. Oh, and he's stuck in the middle of the track, and now Gallet goes launching over the barrier.
Oh, man, there are times when you get into the car and you think you are the pilot, you are the passenger. You are not the one in control anymore. Physics has decided, I don't like what you're doing here, so laws of physics are taking over, and you're not going to have any control of what's going to happen next.
I mean, the 809 was a pilot. He was airborne.
True, yes, good point.
Oh, goodness, poor guy. Essentially, if you go out of what is considered out of bounds, which is usually over the fences or walls in iRacing, it automatically tows you to pit lane. So that's why that car disappeared the way it did. A bit of a shame to see in that instance. Doran, though, is still as calm as ever. Let's jump a little farther back to some of the battles here coming into the S's. This is Stacy Iwata. Remember, gave up a lot of spots right at the very beginning of the race. Back up to P12 in the number 10 car. That is Tom Crane and Tim Schrock in front. Schrock, another one that has gained tons of positions.
Speaking of regaining positions, looks like Lervold has somehow gotten back in front of Reber. I did not see how that happened, but I took a glance over at my timing screen, and suddenly things were like they were 2 laps ago.
I'm checking back real quick to see if I can find it. And it looks like Reber outbraked himself down into the Casio Triangle is what did that. So interesting stuff there. Meanwhile, Schrock much braver on the brakes down into the hairpin. Behind them, I do believe that is Art Schwartz in the yellow and blue that's starting to catch up to them as well, making it a bit of a 4-car battle. This all pales in comparison to Kevin Schultz, who is now up 17 positions. So he's not letting that black flag slow him down or define his weekend, because my goodness, has he charged his way forward. P9, Jack Stevenson, also up 13 himself.
Yeah, that's a good run there. Anytime you can make up double digits, it feels pretty good. Starting from the back, never where you really want to be. Although sometimes at a track like this, with the issues that we see happen, like the beginning of this race in turn 1 and 2, sometimes you just kind of want to sit at the back, let all those cars get out of your way, and then you can put the hammer down and go. Although, did we have
another pass?
Yeah, looks like another pass. I don't think it was the same spot, but it was another pass. He was able to get back around.
This time it was Lervold's turn to go a little bit far, but it was into turn 1 and 2. I don't think he goes completely off, so he manages it well, doesn't put himself in too great a danger, but is just a little bit too shaky through the mid corner. And look at that, just ducks underneath him. Smooth move from Jonathan Reber to get fourth.
That is one of my favorite moves there. People tend to just get into the groove of going wide there, and we've got an incident farther back in the pack. But people tend to get in the groove of just going a little bit wide there, and if you've got the brake control, you can get right up underneath them and use their brain fart to your advantage.
Well, Schrock underneath Crane. Is he going to not successfully do the same move? I'd say not. And poor Iwata kind of plows into the side of them with no place to go. So 3 cars involved in a wreck there. And does that where does that improve the other car that was fighting with them? I'm trying to remember. I think it was Art Schwartz. Yeah, Art Schwartz in the 82 machine is up to 10th. He basically got all 3 of them in one.
Yeah, good place to be. Just sit back and wait for him to crash. Like I was saying a couple of, I want to say sometime last season when I was having a conversation with I forgot who it was, but I was talking to somebody about using the 3 Ps, and the last one is being a pest and making the person in front of you or behind you make mistakes so you can get around them.
Lidback going very slow down towards 130R. Trying to see if we can figure out what happened here. We also have an issue coming out of Spoon. Oh, no, didn't even get to Spoon. Oh, no. That was a big hit down into the barrier, and thankfully, whoever that was zipping by managed not to touch him. That might have actually been Kevin Schultz, but he's heading into pit lane. They have a spare car to help them, so he's probably going to pop that in and then be back out and ready to go for the remainder of the race. They are within the pit window from here, and this means that Schultz is up 18 now. So the number 16 car just climbs and climbs. Can he get to the podium? I don't know about that. He's something like 13 seconds behind Palmer, who's currently the last step on the podium. So that's a bit of a tall order.
Yeah, that would be difficult, but this race has brought some really interesting surprises. Like right now, we're looking at David Palmer, who is closing in pretty quickly on Arnie Clausen. He's only about 3/4 of a second off of his tail, and he's just been kind of sitting here. It looks to me like he's just been biding his time, doesn't really want to push it too hard. He knows that pit window is open, and he's going to try to come out after the pits and make the move there, unless Clausen makes a mistake sooner.
We've had a few drivers in pit lane, some of them due to penalties, some just needing to take their free repair and get back out. I'm seeing very few of those pit stops that look like they are just for fuel and then out on their way, most of them trying to repair something, as we now watch the battle through the Casio triangle, and Arnie is going to be our latest to fall to error as he overcooks it coming out of the chicane. That means Palmer promotes himself up to P2, having started this race in 9th position.
I say it all the time, patience is your friend in racing. If you are patient, you will make up positions. And speaking of doing just that, look who's coming up. This is going to be Jonathan Reber on Clausen. Jonathan could get back to P3 here pretty quickly.
Yeah, so at least maybe a podium on the cards for him as he continues to try and hassle that bright primary colored Porsche, but no dice here through the S's. There's just no chance to overtake, as in front of them a lapped car going to get out of the way. Robert Benson slipping up a little bit.
Yeah, Robert Benson, I don't know if he was driving his mirrors there or just made an honest mistake, but this is a really good battle we're going to see here. These guys, they were battling early in the race when Clausen was able to get around, but now that Reber is actually going a little slow through there. I think he's not trying to push too hard. Neither of these drivers has made their pit stop. I would expect to see them trying to do something soon and not make any foolish mistakes here because I think we've seen enough already. At least I'm pretty sure Reber has.
Only driver, or the highest driver to have pitted is the 010 of David Purdy in 12th spot. So there's still a lot of the field that needs to come in for fuel. As we watch from on board with Reber. I mean, the way things have going, if I'm Jonathan, this is exactly the right tactic. He doesn't need to fight. He doesn't need to battle him. Just wait for the right opportunity. And either he can try and jump him in the pit stops, or he'll see another car that has a spin. He can easily go by.
Yeah, neither of these cars appears to have gotten that much damage from that early incident. Both are running pretty good lap times here and just trying to place the car beautifully. Both of them miss both of those apexes. And when I say missed them, we're talking maybe a foot and a half. Both of those you really want to be able to get up over and have the inside tires on the green. But speaking of, looks like it's time to make a pass. We are under a tenth. They are well overlapped here. Is this a straight line issue that might be happening with Clausen? Well, now it definitely is getting way out there, and looks like that is going to be P3. Reber is back onto the podium.
And that is still a position down from where he finished in the first one, but he's got to make up 7.8 seconds on David Palmer. And though he does appear to be quicker from what I can tell on typical lap times, it's not by a wide margin. I don't know if that's going to be enough for him to catch him before the checkered flag comes out. So we're going to tip back in with Crane in the meantime. Whoa, with a bit of a lockup there ahead of him from Art Schwartz. And they both hold on to it as they exit out of the final turn. Art defends to the inside. Tom has the better momentum. It's going to be the latest of the late breakers down into turns 1 and 2. Crane now fully ahead, and I think Schwartz knows it. He gets back in line.
Yeah, Schwartz seems to be a bit off pace there. Just did not get as good a run out of there. As we switch over to Alex Lidback here in P13, looking ahead at the car of David Purdy. Is he going to try to push in here and make a little bit of a gain? We are so close to that pit window. I'd be surprised to see anybody making a pass that doesn't just magically appear in front of them.
Yeah, and in this case, since Purdy and Lidback have both done their stops, though, they are on the same strategy. Oh, there goes a little wide for Dave Purdy into Dunlop, but he manages it well. He doesn't go too far off, and he doesn't lose the position. As they head through Degner's 1 and 2, he'll retain 12th place.
Yeah, but look at the difference in the use of that curbing on the inside. I think we may see some movement here. I think Lidback is a little hungry to get farther up here. And a little bit of a lockup going around, going all the way around. Oh, no! And then contact. I'm not sure who that's going to... that's almost just a racing incident there. It's hard to say. Looks like... The following driver, the driver who came through behind all that, may have gotten a little target fixation and just didn't make it to the apex.
Yeah, that was Aubrey Iyer, who was a lap down that got into him, unfortunately. And Kevin Schultz is in. Mr. Hard Charger takes his service. No penalty that he has to serve here, and don't think we've seen any major damage on the car. Let me see if he took that free repair. No, he did not. So, yeah, must have been as clean as you like, and he'll return to the track. Now our highest driver who is pitted.
Yep, and then right behind him, looks like, or actually in front of him now, Jack Stevenson is up 15 positions. So another almost to the record hard charger right there.
Yep, here we take a glance with Jack Stevenson, but does still need to make a pit stop still. Yeah, I think he'll probably be about 11 up. That's Tim Schrock, who is almost coming back onto track. Great awareness from Jack Stevenson to see that happening and just give him enough space and time so that they don't come together. but this does mean that Kevin Schultz is now right on the back of him.
Yeah, that's going to really mess up his opportunity to dive into the pits and get a really good pit stop with a splash and dash, but I don't think that's going to help. He's going to need for some mistake from Kevin Schultz, but I haven't seen a lot of those today. I think Kevin's going to be just fine running up the order here. I would expect another position or two if I'm going to be honest about that one. Speaking of, there's one.
Yeah, so Stevenson goes a little bit wide off of the hairpin, and now Schultz back up into 7th place. We're only halfway through this race. Lisa Eskridge, the next one up the road, but she needs to take a pit stop, and then she'll be done with her service and probably won't be battling Schultz since he's close enough behind that he'll take that one over rather easily, I fathom, as we head into the S's for Mark Doran. He's currently make it 13 seconds ahead of David Palmer. Not really much to talk about for him up there. We haven't seen too many dramas.
Yeah, David Palmer, we saw a very similar thing going on last night in the race where our P1 was pretty far out in front, just managing a nice healthy gap. P2 had a decent gap behind, and it was almost a Sunday drive, just kind of, I'm going to hit the mark here. Okay, yeah, hit that mark. Now I'm going to hit this mark. Okay, hit that mark.
We got a replay of Andrew Smiley. Does he outbrake himself coming into the hairpin? No, he makes it, but not out the other side. And just catches it before it veers off into the Armco and just gently curves it back onto the track. That puts Smiley in 16th after that little hiccup.
Yeah, that corner is such a teaser. You get in there and you think you can get the power down, but man, it just doesn't let you. It teases you into it every single time. You have to resist that urge.
So we come back to Stevenson here, sitting in P9 now. That's Stacy Iwata, who also somehow managed to get through, but Stacy needs to make a pit stop as well. Same strategy as the 116. That is a battle for position legitimately, but Iwata's looking pretty quick in comparison to Tim. Oh, that's Tim Schrock. Okay, so that's a lap down car in front of Stacy on top of things. And Schrock, I can't tell if that was an attempt to let Stacy by. If it was, it didn't work because Stacy's still stuck
right
behind.
there. Yeah, that one is an attempt to let by, but if they don't have the launch coming out of there, and this is inadvertent blocking. This is them trying to do the right thing. It's just not working out. And to anybody out there who finds themselves in this position, don't do that. Stay on line, drive your normal line. The faster car will get around you. As soon as you start making alterations, you become unpredictable, and it makes it more difficult to get around you. So just drive your line and let the faster car get around.
Looks like Stephen Purdy is being given, or David Purdy, excuse me, is being given a black flag for his incident he had a little bit ago. And so that's going to send him even farther back. He's already down in 17th place. Whoop. And Iwata continuing to be held up here by this lapped car, just losing time, hand over fist behind him. Stevenson, I think, makes the right call. Stevenson just decides to pit.
Yeah, that was a good call. Let Stacy Iwata get stuck here behind this lap car. Now, again, the lap car is holding into a position that's sort of opening up the outside, sort of defending the inside. There's no need to defend here. If they had just stayed where they were, it would have been easy to get around. And this being off pace is causing difficulty for Stacy Iwata. Stacy should have gone into the pits that lap too, but just didn't. And it may be frustration, maybe just thinking about it too late, but this is absolutely killing Iwata's lap times.
Yeah, it definitely should have pitted in that time. So, Tom Crane. Yeah, Tom Crane is pitted, finishes his without many dramas, and will return. We're waiting for the top 6 to take their pit stops. Only others below them, Stacy Iwata, Art Schwartz, and Stephen Bukowski still need to come in and take some fresh fuel and then get back out onto the course. Maybe if they've got some damage, take that spare car on top of it. A handful of drivers have done so. And did Reber just get by Palmer pitted, excuse me. So that's how he got by him. Palmer is in.
Puts Reber up into second. Now is time to put down the best lap you possibly could. I think for Palmer, it was the end lap that really needed to be a blazing lap. Now it's time for Reber to do the same thing. Just put down the absolute fastest lap you can. Hit every mark perfectly, and then crash the cones as you're coming in. Get that perfect entry into pit lane. Get a quick pit stop and get out.
Absolutely. Well, we check back in here with our leader, Doran. Still no stop for him yet, up to 17 seconds over Reber, but we know that's a little bit of a false statistic there, as he's going to be chased by Palmer most likely after the pit stops, unless something dire happens to Palmer, or Reber has some incredible laps here before he pits in, which should be pretty soon. Stacy Iwata now pits, and Stevenson is the one we got to watch out in that fight, since Jack pitted the lap ago while Stacy was held up by the traffic. And in fact, there is the number 16 now of 116 rather, of Jack Stevenson. And I was trying to figure out earlier, I noticed the name Petty on the side. I think that's supposed to be an old IROC paint scheme.
Oh, come to think of it, yeah, that sounds familiar. I recall seeing something like that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think that might be one of those old IROC paint schemes, liveries. Those were pretty cool. That was a great series. That was a fantastic series. Yeah,
before they switched to Chevrolets, they ran Porsches in that series. So I think that's exactly what this is, as he works his way through the S's, and he did indeed jump Stacy Iwata pretty handily and is about a second and a half ahead of him now. So that worked out beautifully for that green Petty machine. And Doran's on the radio.
Doran and Reber are both in the pits right now.
Oh, Doran's had a problem in the pits. He got into the back of Stephen Bukowski. Bukowski almost missed his pit stall, braked, and Doran ran into him.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting, because now it looks like Reber is still has actually made up about 17 seconds, and Palmer gets around.
Palmer is by. My goodness.
Wow. And Palmer had issues on that last lap. There was another car that was trying to let him around as they were going up into Degner 1 and 2. Bad place to try to pass offline. And so it really messed up his lap time, but it doesn't look like it messed it up too much. He's able to get into P1. David Palmer in the Haribo car, back out in front, or not back out, finally out in front. Let's see if he can hold on to it for this next 11 minutes.
He's going to have to play some great defense, because from what we've seen, Mark Doran is the man to beat in qualifying, in the sprint race, and even before that hiccup in the pit lane, he's looked clearly the fastest of everybody out there. And it's going to take a tremendous effort to be able to fend him off, especially if he's slow in any part of the track, because you got to think that Mark is going to try and fight this hard.
Yeah, and when I look at their best laps, Palmer's best lap was a 2:06.1. Looking at Doran, it's a 2:05.6. That's a full half a second difference there. But let's take a look at the replay there if we can. This is the, looks like a little bit sideways there. Here we go. So on board with Doran, somehow showing P2 here. Maybe that's where he currently is.
Yeah,
that's rough, and that's going to eat up all of those 17 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's on pit limiter at that stage. Nobody expects somebody to just suddenly brake in the fast lane, and he had no time and no space to react. Both of them losing significant time trying to right the cars and get to their stalls. And now Doran could see himself, instead of sweeping this, have to settle for second, which will still be great points for him, mind you. As
he goes into the pits.
He was black flagged for that?
I'm surprised at that. There's no reason for the car in front of him to have made the maneuver it did. That was I don't know. I don't often disagree with stewards, but I think I'm going to on that one.
I'm kind of with you. I very rarely try to do that in this series, but I don't agree with that assessment. But anyways, the Haribo car still leads the way, and now Reber is the one that's going to try and catch up to him, as he's only 0.6 of a second behind. Boy, how things have changed. Remember how early, suddenly he was taken out? He was all the way down to, I think it was 7th place in this race, thinking there goes a shot at the win, and suddenly it's falling into his lap.
I think I said something to the effect of he'll be lucky to make it back into the top 5. I got to tell you, if anybody's using the force, it's definitely him.
Oh, just amazing stuff. Sometimes you just cannot give it up because you never know what's going to happen. As Palmer leads, Clayson is still in 3rd, but he's dropped far enough back that he's not really a threat for them. They've got roughly, I believe, about 4 laps to go.
Yeah, it looks like 8 minutes is going to give us about 4 laps. They might be right on the edge there. It depends on how fast these guys are able to go. I don't think it's going to be. I think we're looking at 4 laps. It'll be just over. We're going to finish with probably, 10 seconds of zero time on there. So this is going to be a good opportunity for, looks like, Reber to be able to get through. Nope, a little bit far back, takes a significantly different line through 130R. So they come up into the Casio Triangle. Much better use of the curbs there, but gets a little bit wiggly. He has closed this up. He is now right at half a second off of him. This is going to get pretty crazy here in the next couple of laps. I think he's got to bide his time, make these just little bitty chunks out of that gap, bring it down 0.3, bring it down 0.2, and then put that pressure on and make him make a mistake.
All right, they come around 1 and 2. Reber still waiting patiently, hoping to see if something will open up for him, if he can get that mistake. They've got no pressure from behind them, so he's got a little bit of time, and he doesn't have to worry about what's coming around. Is some late apexes here through the snake for Palmer, I must say. He's kind of leaving the door open, but then I guess you wouldn't really be too worried about someone trying to charge through that portion.
Although we did see a pass there earlier, it is very uncommon to pass through the S's, through the snake there. Just not a good place unless somebody's significantly off pace. But now we watch them coming through Degner, and this is where it gets pretty crazy. These two guys take a different approach to the hairpin here. Although it looks like Palmer is trying to make that difference. I think he's really going defensive here, trying to hold on to that position. But he gets a much better exit. Look at this. He has now opened this up to over 0.7. He's right at 0.75 of a second out in front. But that is still well within the range you need to be in the draft. And once we come out of Spoon here, this is where being in that draft is going to close things up. I think we're going to see Reber probably trying to make a pass, if not this lap, the next lap going into Casio Triangle.
So Reber, last time in the sprint, was about 1.5 seconds behind on missing out on the victory. Doran wound up winning on that one. Quickly goes to the left side of the track to the racing line, not nearly close enough down to the braking of the last chicane as they accelerate onto the main straight. Palmer still leading him. Decent exit, but it's down to 0.5 of a second between them now. They cross, and it's now only 3 laps to go.
Yeah, just 3 laps to go. This is getting pretty close because now it's down to about 0.3 of a second as we work down into 1 and 2, taking a little bit different line than he's used to. He may be trying to keep some air on that wing, so he's trying to jump out of the draft just a little bit as they're down in there. Pretty smart maneuver from Jonathan, as look how close he is now. He's down to about 3.5 He's really putting the pressure onto him right now. He wants Palmer to make a mistake. That's the easy pass to make, so show the lights and mirrors on both sides.
And it might get a bit interesting not too long into the future because they're catching up to Art Schwartz. Despite the smaller fields, they have gone by quite a bit of the lap traffic, and that's P14 that they're catching up to. So that's close to half the fields that they're about to lap here. And at the rate that they're going, I do think that Palmer is going to have to manage that before they get to the finish. Could that maybe be what Jonathan needs out here, is just let him be distracted that brief moment and go for the charge?
And it looks like Palmer, once again, coming out of the hairpin, has just been able to get the power down a little more effectively and open it up to 7/10. But now it's getting down to about 6/10 as they work their way into Spoon, the second half of Spoon, get right up on the apex, get the power down, use as much of that as they can. There's a lot more they can use there. Both of these drivers have a lot more speed they can pull. If they just get a little more onto the curbing on the exit there, I think they'd see probably 1 or 2 miles per hour more at this point, and still be able to make it through with just a minor lift and really make a beautiful charge down into the Casio triangle.
Down into that triangle. This time he's going to lead the way and take the 2 to go signal as they cross. This last lap between themselves and Schwartz was a full 5 seconds quicker. So yeah, I think they're going to get him probably some point on the last lap. Schultz, by the way, who is sporting damage now, not sure where that came from, is up 19 positions. So I honestly, drive the race for me goes that number 16. And he's already got the damage here. Did something happen in this replay? He's lapping another car. Oh, and he gets maybe a little bit more damage, or does he stay out of it? Yep, he puts some on the backside as well.
Well, you know, you want to keep it balanced. If you're going to have damage the front, you want to damage the back too, just so both ends of the car feel well treated, treated the same way, same respect.
So, and you want to go out and hit the pace car because you want to be perfect?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pace car, and that's one of the fun things in iRacing is you can assault the pace car all you want to. It's a ghost car, so you drive straight through it.
Ooh, this is a lot closer now for Reber. He's looking strong in this portion, and maybe it isn't going to be on the last lap that they'll catch up to Art. It's now within just about a few car lengths between them. There you can see them in the same shot as the 43 steadily runs down that lap traffic. Does he have a plan on how he's going to do this? Or will Art make this easy on the backstretch and lift to let both of them through? Does he know this is the battle for the lead? He tries to pull off like you said not to, and just about runs into the pair of them, but it looks like it'll stay about as it was before, although Reber maybe lost a few more tenths in that exchange.
Although it didn't look like it just watching, Reber was actually the one who fared worse in that situation. He was up. He was about a 1/10.5 closer than he had been on previous laps and just could not quite pull it together with that unpredictable movement as was going through there. But where is he now? He's right about 9/10. This is a good bit farther back than he was before. Typically, he was at about 3/10, so he's about half a second off. And we are going to look at the white flag on this lap.
1 to go. Jonathan's got to catch back up. This is starting to feel a little bit like deja vu. Remember, he was getting closer as well on the last lap, last time out in the sprint race. And Doran was able to just pull it far enough away at the very end that he could not attack. Can Reber do anything here? It's down to 0.3 of a second. He's looking incredibly strong. You don't need these tires anymore. Now's the time to use them.
They may be used up because if you remember, there were some issues going on earlier with David Palmer, and I think he had even gone off, probably got a little more wear on the tires than he wanted to, where when Jonathan went off, he kind of just drove straight and didn't have to spin him up or anything. So he is really close now. So we go into Degner 1 and then through Degner 2. He has been always, every single lap, faster through this section. Look how close he is now. He is down about 1/4 of a second, showing the lights, showing it as they come up in here, trying to put some pressure on, get down underneath him. Oh, a little bit deep on braking. Coming out of this corner, he was down to 2.5 tenths, right at 1/4 second. It has opened up to 8 tenths now as they come out. This is still better than he's been. He's been at about 9 tenths through this. Now, as we come up into Spoon, he typically closes it down here as well. And that's going to give him the opportunity, that last-ditch effort as they go down into the Casio Triangle out of 130R.
And in a real gut punch, Kevin Schultz has gotten a black flag for that contact with the lapped car. So he will not be 19 up on this one. He'll have to serve some kind of penalty as Reber's now blinking here at the very end. At least it's now where I doubt he'll get some sort of penalty for that. Oh, but very slow through 130R, making himself vulnerable. Palmer's got to be careful. He might have taken that a little too easy through the corner. That allows Jonathan to gain on him, but as long as he's smooth off of this chicane, David Palmer, victory has never tasted so sweet, and he's going to take the win here at Suzuka.
Wow, up 8 positions to take the win. That's usually my job. I'm the one who sits back in the middle of the pack on the start with not a great qualifying and then bring it up. Now here we have Arnie Clausen bringing up the last spot of the podium. Good drive, nice recovery, nice job just holding on to the position, even though there were a lot of interesting little incidents all through his race.
And what about poor Mark Doran here? Winds up in 6th place. That's as high up as he can go. Probably going to be promoted to 5th because of Kevin Schultz's penalty here. So we'll find that out once he crosses line. Kevin was not able to serve his penalty because it was given to him by the time he started his final lap. So it'll be a post-race time penalty that will be added as soon as the last car crosses the line. And Doran, 6th with a provisional 5th waiting in the wings.
And watching the rest of the field come through here, that's going to be Lisa Eskridge, I believe, coming across the finish line there, looking a little bit farther back into the field. Everybody just trying to finish out this lap. Nothing really that close. We don't have anybody looking like they're going to really push for yet another position. So I think the field is going to pretty much be settled out the way it is right now.
Indeed, this is Andrew Smiley. Only 13 cars are going to finish on the lead lap, so just one above half of the field completed the full race distance here tonight. A few did wind up DNF'd in the end as well. While he crosses the line, I believe we're going to take a brief break. We'll, of course, be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Brake a little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to Suzuka. The feature race for the challenge class here in PCA Series 10 sees David Palmer climb from 9th to the victory and withstanding immense pressure from behind to take that win. Reber winds up in 2nd place, both for the grid and qualifying in the sprint, the finish of the sprint, the start of the feature, and the finish of the feature. So all 2s for the 147. Arnie Clausen will wind up in 3rd, as Randy Lervold was 4th. He was all 4s himself. Mark Doran, who was all 1s up until that last finish there, with a penalty at the end, and unfortunately a strange incident in pit lane sent him to that P5. Alex Lidback was 6th, and then Lisa Eskridge finished 7th. Credit to her, a quiet run, up 9 spots for that one. Stacey Iwata finished P8, and Casey McDonald 9th, and Tom Crane 13 gained to get a top 10.
Looking at P11, also 13 places up, Kevin Schultz, Jack Stevenson in 12th, Andrew Smiley 13th, Art Schwartz, Robert Benson, David Purdy, Tim Schrock, Jeremy Main, I almost made it through, Johan Nye, also 2 laps back with Robert Galis at the rounding out P20.
21st goes to Steve Bukowski with Aubrey Iyer, unfortunately earning the ire of the stewards today with a couple penalties, taking 22nd. Andy McCune was 23rd. And Durham, unfortunately, despite starting P5, winds up a DNF today with an early wreck. Looks like we've got David Palmer with us ready to chat. And David, from 9th to the victory, you had to sweat it out a little bit, though, at the end. Did you feel any nervousness that Jonathan was behind you?
Oh, of course I did. And I know that he was just waiting for me to make a mistake. And fortunately, I didn't succumb to that. Just like Arnie did, who I was, following, and he made a mistake in the chicane, and that gave me the 2nd place.
Now, obviously, you can't always tell what's going on the rest of the track when you're racing. Did you have any idea that you were going to emerge the leader after the pit stops?
No. Yeah. So something, the leader was way, I couldn't even see him on the front straight. And but there must have been some kind of kerfluffle in the pits with him. It was the only thing I can figure. So.
Yeah, there was a very strange incident. Unfortunately, a car had braked in pit lane and he hit the back of him. But that's what set him backwards. Still, his loss, your gain, and giving you a whole chunk of points with that one. Next time out, though, we're going to be heading off to Spa, and we're going to be doing it in the GT3R Porsche. You looking forward to that?
Yes, I like all of them, and the R, I would say, is the easiest to drive with the 3. This would be the most difficult, but I enjoy the challenge of it. And certainly, as you mentioned, Suzuka with someone close behind with the win in the balance was a very stressful last part of the race, but it's all fun. I'd really like to thank PCA Sim Racing and this year the Porsche Exchange for being our title sponsor. So they really do a great job for us, and it's so much fun driving and competing with fellow PCA members.
Well, it looked like a lot of fun out there today. I don't know if they make gummy bear flavored champagne, but go enjoy yourself a treat for that win.
All right. Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
That was David Palmer, your winner today. And up next, just behind him with a bunch of 2s to his name, Michael is talking to Jonathan Reber.
Indeed, I am. Jonathan, first off, congratulations on a beautiful comeback after that early incident. Now, the question out of that, though, is did you switch to the dark side of the Force to make that work?
I thought that seemed the most sensible option, to be honest. Yeah, so that was... I as soon as I was off on that first lap, as far as I was concerned, I was like, oh, this is done. It's over. There's too many other quick people out there that it's not going to happen. But wow, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. But it's so hard to overtake. But it was so much fun.
Well, yeah, but I do hear the dark side of the Force does have cookies, so at least you'll have that. Now, out of curiosity, watching you on both races, at the start of the race, you actually just laid back an entire car length, almost like one row. Why were you trying to hold back there? Was it just you felt more comfortable there? What was going on?
I was just, honestly, it's a bit of a safety thing in my head for the first corner. I don't want to mess things up, not for me, not for anyone else in the race. If we can all get through the first 2 or 3 turns, then it becomes a race. And so the first one, I was trying to be careful. It didn't help on the heat race that I was in the wrong gear. I'd already gone up to 3rd when it went green, and so I lost time there. The second one, I was trying to be closer, and Mark was very gently pushing me into the grass, like in a perfectly fair way, don't get me wrong, but I was just like, no, this is getting too close. So I held back a little bit.
Yeah, both times you ended up losing a position and then gaining it back. So that really speaks volumes about your ability to just put the car in the right place. And as we were watching those last couple of laps, you clearly had pace and it looked like you might get it. What was it that didn't quite gel for you on those last couple of laps to allow you to take P1?
I think, I mean, like I said, I don't think there's loads of places to pass at Suzuka. I get the feeling it's one of those coming out of Spoon. I was just never quite close enough to try and go down that piece. I don't think David was massively quick through the kink. So I kind of gained on him and was almost getting him a couple of times there, but it was not quite enough. So I was really just playing around, trying to be right behind him and zip to his left and zip to his right and hope it would make him hope he would make a mistake. If I'm honest, it was my tactics, but it didn't happen. So he got first. So there we go.
Well, P2 is still pretty good. When you started second, you finished second, and then you qualified second, which caused you to qualify second for the next race, and you finished second. So great running all the way through. What are we going to expect from? Yeah, consistency is key, right? What are we going to expect with you in the GT3R and Spa?
So I haven't done Spa in iRacing before at all. So I have 2 weeks to actually learn how that track works. So I couldn't tell you. Everything I'm hearing from other people is that it's quite slippery and it's easy to go off. So a lot of it will, again, I think, be trying to focus on staying on the track and just seeing how we do.
Well, wish you much luck there. I think if you drive there like you drove here, it's going to be great. But for now, we're going to have to say goodbye and hopefully be able to talk to you next time. Looks like Joe has caught up with RP3.
Yeah, the number 7 of Arnie Clayson. Arnie, after having a win in a second last time out at VIR, was it a bit frustrating to only manage the third twice today, or are you still happy with it?
I'm actually ecstatic with it because this track, I knew that I was not going to be able to win on Racecraft. This track, just staying on it is such a struggle, and you're concentrating not even on traffic, just driving straight. So, and I made plenty of mistakes, but few enough that attrition at the end was my friend.
Absolutely was. It seemed like that pretty well worked out in the end. Now that you've gotten to try all 3 makes of cars, we heard some of the others earlier talking about the differences and which is the most difficult. Some seem to think that this Cup car is the trickiest. Would you concur?
I definitely would concur. I think it is a car we all need to master because it's the car that if you're good at it, all the other cars become easy. But boy, is it a challenge.
Yeah, I can understand. There's not much to help you out in the cockpit. It's pretty raw. But I know you guys have been varying things up. Is there a particular Porsche you'd want to see show up on iRacing that you'd all get to compete in the future?
I am already a big fan of the GT4, so if they can come up with the GT4 RS or whatever the next race variant of that, be great. And seeing the 963 wouldn't be bad either.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. That's a good answer. Well, congratulations, Arnie. A pair of third places is a good finish today.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you very much. You put on an amazing show. I always enjoy listening to all the other classes races as well. Keep up the good works.
Thank you very much. The number 7 there with 2 third places tonight in the sprint and the feature, which is going to wrap us up. And make sure and join us because we'll be back again on Wednesday night, April 26th at 9:25 p.m. Eastern. However, that will be the club class at Spa as we are now switching tracks after 2 weeks here in Suzuka. We'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10, which is, of course, the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and also a huge thanks to our team tonight, Michael, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this is possible without those behind the scenes of Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.